New York State recently selected the Champlain Hudson Power Express project from Quebec Hydro to deliver 1,250 megawatts of clean hydropower to New York City area. And I'm going to talk to Professor Pierre-Olivier Pineau, who's the chair in energy sector management of HEC Montreal, about that. So welcome to the interview.
Hi, thank you very much.
Well, look, this is, how big a project is this and how significant is it for Quebec Hydro?
It is a very large project because it is the addition of a new transmission line connecting Quebec and not only New York, but the city of New York directly to Manhattan. So it's a significant project because it partly replaces the Indian Point nuclear power station that shut down this year. For Hydro-Quebec, it is the equivalent of what they are already exporting to New York, but Hydro-Quebec was exporting to the north of New York these last years in the spot market, around 10 terawatt hour of electricity. So now they have a long-term contract that will stabilize the revenue and go directly to New York City, but for a similar amount of energy.
So is this in addition to what they're already selling, or is it a replacement for?
So that is a very good question because it's actually not exactly known to what extent it's in addition or a replacement. Hydro-Quebec is already exporting 10 terawatt hour, but on a voluntary basis, on an hourly basis to the New York market. In the last 10 years, they've seen prices declining with the shale gas revolution. Natural gas prices have depressed electricity prices. So Hydro-Quebec was looking for some ways of increase its revenues and to also monetize the green attributes of its hydropower, because in the spot market they don't receive any premium for that. So through that contract, New York State guarantees a supply of green energy where it's needed, which is directly in downtown New York. Hydro-Quebec has the possibility to actually send more than terawatt hour to New York. So it's probably more, it will partly be in addition to what's already being exported, but probably not, it won't double the amount.
My understanding is that New York State either has carbon pricing or will soon. And will that affect the hydropower's ability to compete with natural gas generated electricity in that market?
Well, New York is part of the RGGI, the Regional Greenhouse Gas, which is a cap and trade market for the electricity sector, and it's been there for more than 10 years now. And so all natural gas generators in New York have to pay for their emissions, and that the price, the carbon price is around is less than $10 per ton of greenhouse gases. So it's still a relatively low carbon price. It's not immediately visible in the electricity price. Of course, it adds a little bit to the cost of electricity, but it's hidden in the overall wholesale price of electricity. And as the price, as far as we know, the price in the contract will be set and will not depend on the actual market price. So it won't affect the competitiveness of hydro with respect to other generation sources.
Now, there's an interesting component to this project that I haven't seen before, Professor Pineau, and that is there's going to be 550 kilometers of cable to take the power from Quebec to New York City. 60% of it will be underwater, and the other 40% will be buried. So we won't have any of those big towers that create such a problem from a social acceptance point of view. Is this unusual?
It is unusual for North America. It's of course a big plus for the project because nobody wants to see huge transmission lines. They are, however, key for the decarbonization of the grid. We'll need more transmission lines. If we can bury them, then it will be, much all the better for the reliability and for the visual impact of these transmission lines. But increasingly in Europe, it's something that has to be done because people, especially in Germany, people don't want to see these transmission lines, but we need to install them. So they're burying them, and the cost increase accordingly. And this transmission line, is more expensive than an equivalent transmission line, equivalent project that Hydro-Quebec has with the Massachusetts through Maine, the New England Clean Energy Connect, which is overhead transmission lines, which cost less for basically the same amount of electricity.
Is this something that we're going to be seeing more and more of? And I would assume that extreme weather events caused by climate change would be one of the reasons why we might.
I think so, but it also, it does impact the overall price and exports. So, maybe we don't currently have the willingness to pay to avoid these, you avoid traditional transmission lines. But as soon as people want to, get the clean energy, these are the kind of infrastructure we'll need. And I think there'll be more projects in the future, yes.
Now, this particular project is permitted already and ready to start construction in 2021, according to the website. Is it likely that it'll be up and running, the construction will begin this year, or will it be next year?
Well, for the exact start of the construction, I can't say, but this project has been discussed for more than 10 years now, in different versions. Initially, it was 2,000 megawatt, then it went back to 1,000 megawatt, and then it went up again to 1.250 megawatt. So I think the project is really ready. It gets all the approvals. So as soon as they can get, the actual construction workers hired, they'll start the project.
Can we expect to see any more projects like this, given that the U.S. Under President Biden is moving aggressively towards clean electricity and the building of new infrastructure and modernizing the grid?
Well, I think if the Americans want to minimize the cost of their clean energy transition, they will have to consider more interconnections with Canadian provinces, which can offer a lot in terms of storage capacity in reservoir. We can think of BC, Manitoba, Quebec, even Newfoundland and Labrador. We all have a lot of storage that could be used to integrate more intermittent renewables such as wind and solar. And there are different studies showing the huge value these transmission lines combining wind and reservoir in Canada, the huge value these combinations can have. So if the Americans are serious in decarbonizing their grid, then yes, we will have more projects like these ones.
Professor Pineau, thank you very much for this. Really appreciate your insights.
Thank you very much.